Hello everyone, how are you going? Welcome to Geography 101, the Great Lakes. Now I have seen and heard a little bit about the Great Lakes before, but I'm always keen to learn more about this incredible ecosystem that flows from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, and then out to sea, so here we go.
The Great Lakes have always fascinated me. I'm biased since I live near one of them, and because of my bias, that's what this video is about. Time to learn some important facts and just general 101 on the Great Lakes.
Ocean.
For those who don't know, the Great Lakes are a group of closely connected freshwater lakes in North America. They are generally considered to be 5 lakes: Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario. Lake St. Clair, Nipigon, and a bunch of smaller lakes are a part of the same system, but are not considered to be Great Lakes. Sorry guys.
Oh fellas, true, as they were very particular with the naming scheme of the Great Lakes, they didn't call them the Deep Lakes or the Cold Lakes or the Blue Lakes or the Fish Lakes, no, they called them the Great Lakes, meaning large, and so I guess these smaller guys just had to be given the Pluto treatment, there was no ways about it. In saying that though, similarly to Pluto, I can only imagine that these two Great Lakes are not small bodies on their own things, yes, compared to Earth and compared to the Great Lakes, they're smaller, but come on, you have to give them the fact that these are probably, 40, 50, 60 k's across or something like that? That's a lot of water still.
They were formed from receding glaciers during the last ice age 12,000 years ago. In terms of Earth's history, they're practically brand new. The lakes are unique because there is nothing quite like them on Earth. They're the largest freshwater lake system on the planet, so big that they're practically like seas. If you live on their coast, you would see, the similarity. They're not seas though. Many think this is because lakes are freshwater and seas are salty, but that's not the case. This is because of 2 factors: elevation and relation to the ocean. Seas like the Caspian or Black are at sea level, which is pretty obvious, while lakes such as Superior are higher in elevation. Superior being at 601 feet above sea level, while the Caspian is at 92 feet below sea level.
92 feet below sea level, 30 meters below compared to 200 meters above. I mean, wow, the fact that the Caspian can be that much lower is also incredible to me. And look, I've never really looked into the Caspian Sea, but I know the thing that just blows me away with the Black Sea is the fact that it's all basically fed through the middle of Turkey. If we go over to the Black Sea and we just come down to here, look all the way through here, there is not, as far as I'm aware, any other way for the ocean, being the rest of the entire ocean, to access the Black Sea. I don't think there's anything up here. Maybe there's small estuaries. I mean, that's a long river, but where does that come from? I don't know, that's a long way away. But really, when we come down here and we just see that there is the perfect channel just to be filled up and emptied, I guess every day, or I don't know how it honestly fits that much water through a channel that is, it's like 20 meters across at some point, isn't it? No, it is actually a lot wider than that, but either way, only at 800 meters, you compare 800 meters compared to this entire massive body of water, an entire inland sea worth of water, I guess has to go through there every single day, just being fed by the rest of the Atlantic. I mean, of course, it also has to pass through the Mediterranean, and even the fact that, look at this, like, that's a lot of water to go through, even one over here. I don't know how far and how big this is, but it can't be too far. What is that? 17 kilometers. I mean, I guess depending on how deep that is, they can certainly take a massive amount of water, but we're dealing with the entire world's ocean. It's only really one ocean. We just name it different things in different places, which I guess, to be fair, is exactly the same thing that we have done with the Great Lakes. They are all kind of technically one water supply. They're just interconnected via canals, but we do call them all these individual bodies because, well, they're very clearly defined bodies of water.
The next factor is relation to the ocean. A lake is a body of water surrounded by land. Technically, that would make the Caspian a lake, but there's the elevation factor. The Great Lakes, while large, don't connect to the ocean in a way to categorize it as a sea. So they're very sea-like lakes. They're not seas, they're lakes.
I guess it just depends about where the water is coming from. Because the water is coming from higher mountains and then the lakes themselves are up in the mountains, being 601 feet and everything else, then the lakes are feeding the ocean instead of the ocean feeding the lake, and that's probably the only really determining factor that he's said, at least. However, that does raise the question, what is the difference between a sea and an ocean? Is it just the size of the body of water, or is it somehow how it's fed? Because I feel as though people use the words fairly interchangeably. Not many people say I'm going to the ocean, people say I'm going to the beach, but they also say I'm going to the sea and not the ocean, and so unless you're going to the Caspian Sea or the Black Sea, I don't think that's going to be working too well, and I'm also not sure how well that Sally sells seashells by the seashore would be working if she was selling them at the Black Sea. And also, thinking about it, the word, or at least the definition for lake, covers such a variety of bodies of water. You can go down the end of the street and have a 200-meter lake, or you can have the Great Lakes, which are hundreds of kilometers across, and they're both called a lake. As I was talking before, at least we have ocean and sea to be able to differentiate some size there, or actually, is it something to do with the fact that the sea is landlocked and an ocean I guess, ocean locks the land. Yeah, it must be something like that because you've got all the oceans, but then, no, because you got the Sea of Japan, that's not really landlocked. Yeah, especially that's not landlocked. None of these are landlocked. Why are these all seas? What? I don't get it. I could understand if we were only looking at the Mediterranean Sea or even the Red Sea, but there is no way that I can sit here and say that the Arabian Sea is landlocked.
All these lakes are a part of a single waterway, connected either naturally or by man to be one of the most important transportation systems in the world. Used by native tribes, Europeans, and later the United States. In the 18th century, the Great Lakes were crucial to expanding and building the early US. Like how the railroad built the West, the lakes built the Midwest. Shipping and trade propped up cities along the coast, such as Cleveland, Detroit, Toledo, and Chicago. Michigan and Ohio fought a war against one another over an area called the Toledo Strip in order to gain more coast of Lake Erie. Even though today the area is considered a Rust Belt, this used to be the core of the United States.
Well, I absolutely had no idea about that. I mean, I knew that they were used obviously for Aboriginal purposes because, for goodness sake, you were going to use such an incredible resource like those, but for goodness sake, to be fighting a war just to gain some more coastline to the thing? That seems a little bit ridiculous because I can only imagine, well, you've already got a port somewhere, and so how many ports do you need? Surely you're just using it as a method of transport. You don't actually need the coastline. That doesn't gain you much. Yes, I can understand if you want the land surrounding it, but I don't know, I don't get it. And I say that wholeheartedly because I don't get it, you know, I haven't seen the scale of these lakes, I haven't seen the scale of what they provide and the incredible, just like you said, the fact that they build the Midwest, I've never even thought about it, but of course, I mean, you just have this incredible trading scheme, like I've said, with going back to Aboriginal times, and then even in modern times, of course you're going to be using this incredible transportation method and everything else that it provides.
Most of Canada's population lives in the Great Lakes watershed, with cities either on the coast of the lakes or on rivers connected to them. Very few live on the coast of Lake Superior though. It lies on the Canadian Shield, which makes farming difficult. Lake Superior is the largest of them all, being the largest lake by surface area, second largest if you count the Caspian as a lake, and third largest in volume. By area, it's the size of Austria. Even if Michigan and Huron were defined as one body, Superior would still be larger in terms of volume. Lake Michigan and Huron surround the lower peninsula of the state of Michigan, forming the distinct oven mitt shape. They're actually one single lake called Michigan Huron.
Wait, oven mitt? What am I looking at it wrong? Oh, wait, are we looking at the land or the lake? Maybe I can see it in the land, but I can't see it in the lake unless you're really opening up that thumb. I do want to take it back to this though and just have a look at these stats because look at that. That is the perfect cross-section analysis of the entire thing. Just 601.1 feet. Really, 0.1 feet, but fair enough. Oh, but the major thing that stands out to me is just Niagara Falls. I mean, for goodness sake, look at it. I mean, I was about to say how much water it holds back. It's not a dam, but it kind of does hold a lot of water back. There is clearly just a virtually endless supply of water there, and you can definitely see it in the power of that entire falls. Obviously, eventually just leveling out down into the Montreal Harbor, but honestly the fact that it has that kind of slope is pretty impressive as well. I mean, it also does make me come over to the left and look and go, how does the water down the very, very bottom of Lake Superior, which is going to be the coldest, densest, and I guess I was going to say saltiest, but it's not salty. Either way, even though water does mix, it does make me wonder how long and what particle just takes the longest to get all the way out to the Atlantic Ocean.
They're actually one single lake called Michigan Huron. Both are connected to one another and were mistakenly named separately, the western portion being called Michigan and the east called a Huron. If corrected, it'd be the largest lake in the world by surface area. Lake Erie is the smallest in volume, but is shared by many different cities. Detroit, Toledo, Buffalo, and Cleveland to name a few. In recent years, due to outsourcing, these once industrial cities have begun to fall to urban decay. Lake Ontario is the smallest in surface area. Toronto sits on its coast. While the Great Lakes are extremely large and make up a prominent feature on the North American map, they are not the only freshwater lakes on the continent. Canada is home to almost 3 million freshwater lakes.
They're just bragging at this point, aren't they? It's like, come on, share some water with the rest of us. As even the Great Lakes on their own have the lion's share of the world's freshwater supply, and so once you add another 3 million little, small, medium-sized lakes into it, you're definitely going to have all of it, and so I don't know how the rest of the world even has any fresh water.
Canada is home to almost 3 million freshwater lakes. Great Bear Lake and Great Slave Lake are larger than Lake Erie, and Lake Winnipeg is larger than Lake Ontario. In recent years, pollution and invasive species such as Asian carp have put the ecosystem of the Great Lakes at risk. In fact, an algae bloom fueled by pollution in Lake Erie made the drinking water too dangerous to consume for a few days. I would know. I was there.
A few days? What? How a few days? Was it then just killed off by sunlight? But no, sunlight's going to help it grow. They can't treat a water supply that big, and I don't know, how do you manage an entire water supply just going under like that? That's insane. And also, it does make me wonder, or at least I can only assume that this is a photo of exactly what he is talking about. I mean, it looks absolutely awesome. It also looks deadly as, especially this nebula up here. That is just insanity, but that green, not for me.
The issue of conserving these lakes will become an important topic in upcoming years. For a water system that contains 21% of the world's freshwater, it will be interesting to see how human development affects the Great Lakes. Fishing and trade are still vital to the economies of this region, as well as the water from these lakes is crucial to the United States.
Whoa, hang on a second. You can't exactly forget about Canada. For goodness sake, you even mentioned them in this video. The fact that they do actually exist and do actually live on the Great Lakes themselves. But no, the fact that these lakes would have been at one point so pristine, so everything, just immaculate ecosystems. But now, as they said, just all the invasive species and the shipping and the fishing and everything else that is going on within these lakes. It's just, honestly, I'm kind of surprised that they are still deemed drinking water, because I don't really want to be driving an entire, I don't know, fuel tanker through my drinking water, if I'm honest. But hey, at least now just having 2 Great Lakes videos under my belt, I can certainly start to get a more holistic picture about the entire thing. You know, obviously the last one went for a more scientific approach, and then this one did mix in a bit there, but it also just covered a locals approach. You know, for goodness sake, it was saying who was affected by the algae bloom, which actually I feel as though we can see in this. Maybe, I don't know, is that polluted coming from a whole bundle of city, or is that algae? Probably, which is such a shame, because I'm sure, as everyone knows, or at least hopefully knows, these are such an incredible and unique ecosystem. You know, for goodness sake, they have 1/5 of the world's total freshwater supply. You know, the thing that kind of keeps us alive and breathing and everything functioning. Yeah, 1/5 of all of it, as well as everything else that they have provided over the last 12,000 years. For goodness sake, you said it's a short period of time, and on the Earth scale it is, but for humans that is lifetimes and generations of non-parasitic, non-destructive use. And then all of a sudden, in the last 200 years, we come in and we just start wreaking havoc. And yes, I have heard that there are some things that are changing, let's say pollutants from the 20s and things that are going to take a long time, but at least they've stopped. Either way, just if you live anywhere in North America, and especially if you just live around here, honestly, if you just live anywhere in the world where there is water, so anywhere in the world, just respect the water supply, because in some ways that is all we've got. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm just going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to the YouTube algorithm things down below. Also, if this is the first video of mine you are watching, then make sure to go check out any other ones I've done. Also, make sure to go check out the original video down in the description below, or hey, maybe you even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.